Governor, I wanted to thank you for your swift and decisive leadership throughout this crisis. I'm calling upon you for that leadership now. You have the power to significantly impact the spread of COVID-19 and save thousands of lives starting tomorrow. Last week, the leader of the Czech Republic, Andre Bobbish, pleaded with President Trump to have Americans begin the process of making homemade masks. Why are the Czechs pleading with us? Because science shows that a simple cotton mask is effective at 70% efficacy on stopping 0.02 micron particles. I've spoken to large sewing contractor executives. They're willing to start production of homemade masks today. Some of them will do it at cost. Some of them have actually had some prototypes already made up. The Czechs generated millions of homemade masks in just a few days after this data was released. It's now illegal to leave the home without a mask. Their first case was March 5th. As of today, their peak was March 27th at 373, and the number of cases has now dropped to almost half just 3 days later. The regions that have a flat curve all have one thing in common. They all wear masks. Taiwan annihilated the curve. They have just over 300 cases in total. We messed this one up here in the U.S., but we can start today and save lives and get our economy back sooner by doing what's already working in the rest of the world. We have a problem, though. We don't have enough masks for our healthcare workers as it is. They are our frontline soldiers, and they need the N95s. Here's where your outside-the-box leadership can help our state and our country. The science and the empirical data shows that homemade masks work quite well. It's not so much that I protect myself from you, although there's evidence to support that. It's rather I protect you from me. These homemade masks are more efficient in that direction. We all know the biggest problem is being contagious before symptoms occur, and we are unknowingly infecting dozens of people, which turns into dozens more. If everyone wears a mask like they do in every country that has controlled this, we win. It's common sense, no PhD needed. The evidence is already there, and we're finally getting around to it. Trump just last night mentioned that they're considering this, as did Fauci as well. As I said, I've spoken to large sewing contractor executives. They are willing to start production on these homemade masks now. There's no need for red tape and regulation because the claim is not that it will guarantee any protection. We just know it helps, and anything is something. And the focus is on being respectful to your fellow citizens, protecting them from you. A genuine sign of respect towards the safety of others. I pray, Governor, that you do more than give this some serious thought and do what's already working elsewhere. Lives will be saved. Lives are being saved. And we will all be able to do our part. It's already illegal in other countries to be without a mask when leaving the house. There's no need to wait for the federal government to issue an order. They are strapped because the production is not there for N95s. They're scratching their heads right now. Governor, if you set this thing in gear, others will follow. I'm calling upon your leadership. Many of us have been scratching our heads as to why other countries are doing this and we aren't. It's time to step up our game. Like the Czechs, we will quickly forget about the stigma. A quote from a Czech citizen. In Czeck Republic, we went from look at that idiot wearing a mask to look at that idiot not wearing a mask in 2 days. The heck with the stigma. What would you rather wear, a mask or a ventilator? Right? That's where we're at. Or God forbid, put your mother or grandmother on a ventilator because you didn't wear a mask. A quote from Asia. No one laughs about anyone wearing masks in Asia. We respect them for being considerate. We despise the arrogant Westerners who think they are invincible and walk around without masks when everybody else is. The Czechs are doing this from their own homes. They are full of pride. They've made this their mission, and now people from all over the world are posting their homemade masks to show their pride in being able to do their part. Governor, I'm shut down. Building swimming pools, beautiful landscapes, not exactly a necessity these days. I'm a business owner that has poured myself into studying this since January. This is not complicated nor expensive, especially when some companies are willing to help out at cost. This is common sense. I'm available. Put me to work. I'll line up the sewing contractors, make calls, whatever. We need a mandate restricting any public wandering around without a mask, period. It'd be a crime against humanity not to move forward on this. We need it, and we need it today. Many of us business owners are extremely worried that the administration is going to open everything back up too soon. As a business owner, I can tell you this. Our worst fear is that this closure amounts to nothing. We reopen, many more people become infected. We have to shut down again with astronomical numbers of unsustainable cases, and then we hit the big W double dip recession and wind up in the second Great Depression. There has to be some general awareness here. We've got something we can control, making masks. We will be made to look like fools if we take a pass. We could become worse than China and Italy. Let's do what the successful countries are doing. I bet there's thousands of Marylanders that could do this at home now, today. I'm going to have a list of links on how to make these masks, the simple materials that seem to be easiest to work with and most effective, and other important links in this post as well. And if you've listened this far, can you do me a favor and just post this video? Even if it's just on your homepage, but post it in any groups. Tag anybody who you'd think would be appropriate. It is the only prayer that it would get to the governor's attention. Hitting the share button's pretty easy to do, but it could make a difference. It only takes that one right share.
Hi there, my name's Jeremy Howard. I'm a research scientist at the University of San Francisco, and I'm a co-founder of FastAI. I'm also on the Global AI Council at the World Economic Forum. And the important thing is this. A bit of crafting could actually help you stop the spread of COVID-19 in your community. Here's what we know. These regions here, they're all around China, the epicenter of the regional epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis. These areas are Mongolia, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. These areas have something in common. They have very, very few deaths from COVID-19. Also, their economies are extraordinarily unimpacted. They're not exactly going around their daily business in the usual way. There's social distancing. But on the whole, life is going on much as usual there, at least compared to many other parts of the world. So how are they doing this? How have they got deaths down so much without destroying their economy and day-to-day life as much as we are? Well, they're doing a lot of things right. They've got a fantastic testing in place, contact tracing, quarantine systems for those who might be infected. But there's one other thing that they all have in common that's really interesting. They all have universal mask wearing amongst the general population in public. It's just totally normal for people to wear masks there in a situation like this. They've had pandemics before. They know how to deal with it. And for example, in Hong Kong, you are not allowed to enter a shop if you are not wearing a mask. So it's both socially expected and often legally required. But what we do know is that they have a recipe for something that's working. So maybe we should follow that recipe. I'll tell you what else we found. I've had a look at 38 scientific papers on this topic, which are related to the question of can wearing masks help delay, slow down, and maybe eventually stop transmission of COVID-19 in the community? And the answer is it sure looks like they can, by 50 to 75%. Just an amazing difference. There's a few differences though. Should we be wearing masks here in the US, where I am, in Australia, where I'm from originally, in the UK, where my family's from? Well, there's some problems. The first and biggest problem is there's a shortage of what's called N95 respirators, the hospital-specific masks that people might be most familiar with. There's not enough for people, frontline medical workers in hospitals. But this is a huge problem because Oxford University has put out advice that says in a hospital situation, when you're doing a procedure called an aerosol generating procedure, it's really important you have an N95 respirator, a real proper hospital mask. Otherwise, you can get infected because there's kind of this spray of virus-infected droplets that hang in the air. Here's something else, though, that Oxford says. Even in a hospital situation, you don't really need to wear these N95 respirators. Just a regular cloth mask, in hospitals they call it a surgical mask, is quite enough. And the reason for this is that this illness seems to mainly be spread through droplets that fly out of our mouth when we're talking, just like this, or if we cough, or if we yawn. And in fact, There's some research from Stanford and MIT, which has been supported by the Nobel Prize-winning virologist Harold Varmus, that actually has looked in a machine like this, where they look at a laser beam at what happens, and they can actually watch these tiny droplets fly out of your mouth and go 2 meters or more, 6 feet to my American friends. So what can you do? Well, you can actually cover your mouth with pretty much any kind of cloth. Cambridge University has actually looked at this, and they found that 2 layers of cotton work pretty well. And the scientists from Shenzhen Hospital have studied different types of material under an electron microscope and found that paper towel is actually perfect for this. So question number 1, could we start wearing masks without taking them away from frontline medical staff? Yes, we could. We could make them at home using paper towels and or cotton material in sheets, t-shirts, so forth. Question number 2, would we really do that in the West? Because in the West, we don't have a culture of mask wearing. Turns out the answer is yes, we can. An absolutely amazing, inspiring campaign kicked off by a science communicator named Peter Ludwig in the Czech Republic proves this is true. He put out the word and he said, hey, places that are wearing masks have far less deaths. Maybe we should do it too. Here's some scientific research that shows this. Come on, let's make this happen. And it went viral. There was songs about it, videos about it, influencers showing themselves wearing homemade masks. Within 3 days, nearly everybody in the Czech Republic had a mask. It got to the point within days where if you went out without a mask, people in your community would look at you and think, what is this person's problem? Why are they going around my community without a mask, putting me at risk? The message that was sent in the Czech Republic social media and amongst influencers was, my mask protects you. Your mask protects me. So this is super, super important. And so if you go out with your mask, eventually people in your community are going to know you're protecting them, you're helping them. And the science suggests you may well be helping yourself as well. So why don't we do this? Why don't we follow this established recipe that has worked in the Czech Republic? Slovakia went on to do it as well. In Austria now, as of today, there are laws that require you to wear a mask when you're shopping. Germany's peak medical body has just announced that they're recommending that everybody uses masks as well. So how do you make your own? Well, here's where the crafting comes in.
We have an important message for all of you, especially if you live in a country that is right now facing the new coronavirus. The pandemic is growing exponentially in many countries. But the Czech Republic is one of the few in Europe that has significantly slowed down the spread of the virus. In this video, we would like to tell you what we did differently, and mainly, we would like to help you to do the same. We are following social distancing and the rules stay at home. But others do that too. We also have strict hygienic procedures. Others do that as well. But the main difference is everyone who has to leave their house has to wear a face mask. Everyone.
I know. They may be told you that masks wouldn't protect you, but there are studies proving that even a homemade mask can be partially protective. Partially. Any protection is essential today. But now the more important thing. Masks fundamentally prevent the transmission from you to others by sneezing, coughing, but also breathing. And many people are the most contagious before they start showing symptoms. So, when we both have a face mask, I protect you, you protect me, and we are both safe.
Based on recent data, we know that population-wide use of masks is essential for suppression of the outbreak.
According to our professional experience, a simple homemade mask can prevent up to 100% of the spread of potentially infected microdroplets.
The more people use masks, the less virus can be distributed and fewer individuals are exposed.
Just a few days ago, people were laughing at those who wore masks. But some people knew about this positive effect and started to share this information across social media. The message grew fast through artists, influencers, and others. I know, face masks aren't in stores, right? But something incredible happened. People started making homemade masks and giving them to others for free. Many companies, theaters, or even retirement houses changed their buildings into sewing rooms, and thousands of people started to sew masks at home. So we know that face masks work, and it has been repeatedly confirmed by scientists. We know that it is possible in just 3 days to provide face masks for 10 million people in one country. And we know that here we have fundamentally repressed the infection. Please share this knowledge and help us to change as many countries as possible. Take a picture with your face mask on and share it with the hashtag #MasksForAll. It's for all. It can really save lives. And remember, I protect you, you protect me.
I recommend to all fellow ministers and governments to implement population-wide use of face masks, even homemade ones. Today we see that this was one of the most important decisions that we have made. And if it helped here, it can help anywhere.